tonight, a lot of big guns will be seen in action. Rajasthan must be reeling under the effects of that high-octane chase. The pressure is on them to emulate those efforts. They have the firepower, but IPL is about having to perform consistently. Kolkata has displayed that they are canny and have the skills to stifle the opposition. Time for us to talk about that match between Rajasthan and Kolkata with our guest Andrew Collister, the Vice Consul at the Australian Consulate in Chennai, and Paul Radley, sports writer with the National newspaper. Andrew, to you first. Apart from the Indians, Australians are a dominant force in the league, be it captaining the side, filling key positions or coaching. What's the response back home to what David Warner did last night and Steve Smith's team has been doing, and in fact what they did on Sunday?
Yeah, hi Rika, thank you for having me on. Yeah, I think Australians are really excited to see the cricketers back in action in the IPL. As you said, we're the second biggest contingent, the biggest after Indians, and Australian cricket has been out of action for a long time, so we're really excited. We've got a big test series against India coming up, and of course looking towards the 2020 World Cup next year in 2021. It's great to see Australians back in form and playing well.
Paul, last night we saw wickets getting lower and slower in the UAE. Is there a possibility that today Dubai also might offer a similar track?
Yeah, it's possible. The pitches it makes sense that they've been slowing down. Obviously, they started off favouring the quick bowlers and there was swing and seam. Now it looks like they're slowing down a little bit, but I think still in Dubai you can expect a good wicket for run scoring.
Paul, spinners' a role in the tournament have been key. Shane Warne has come in and he is going to be joining the Rajasthan Royals team. In fact, we did see a picture of him at the Rajasthan Royals training. Bowling seems to be a weak link for them. Do you think he'll be able to fix it?
Well, I think in terms of the spinners, I don't think that their role will be quite as significant just at the moment as it will be in a week or so, or a few weeks' time in this tournament, because the amount of traffic each of the pitches is going to get is going to be a lot. So you'd have thought spinners would come into their own at that point. In terms of the bowling as a whole for Rajasthan Royals, I think the fact that they played in Sharjah twice is probably counting against the bowlers. It's a very small ground there, a postage stamp in Sharjah, and the pitch is very flat. So that's probably why the bowling figures for them perhaps don't look quite as good.
Andrew, Shane Warne, Captain Smith on one side and Buzz McCullum on the other side. Does this make it for a trans-Tasmanian rivalry on the IPL pitch?
Yes, I think it's really going to be great to see. Australians and New Zealanders are always have a very healthy competition whenever we're facing off, and just add that little bit of extra spice to tonight's game, which should be a really good one already.
Paul, an exciting lineup of spinners on both sides. Sunil Narine, Kuldeep Yadav. We've also seen Varun Chakravarti performed on the other night. Now Rahul Tewatia, Shreyas Gopal on the other. Do you expect this contingent to shine on the Dubai surface tonight?
No, I think they'll find it difficult, to be honest. I think we saw the other night the game, Washington Sundar bowled really well for RCB, but everybody else struggled because the pitch was so flat in Dubai, and he's quite a different sort of off spinner, and so the leg spin, I don't know, I think they'll have their work cut out if the pitch is anything like it has been in the past few games in Dubai.
Paul, to you again. Kuldeep Yadav had been KKR's strike bowler until 2018. He seems to be on the decline. Last match also he went wicketless. Would you say that KKR should look beyond him, or he's just one good performance away?
Yeah, he could. It's very true. He could be just one good performance away. I think just looking at him, it looks like he's lost his way a little bit, and he's trying a slightly different method to what he had before. So obviously famously bowled his left arm spin quite slow in comparison to a lot of other spinners, and it looks like he's making a conscious effort to change that and bowl a little bit quicker. Whether he's sort of still trying to find his way in that method, or whether he's just sort of lost a little bit of confidence, might be his issue. But I don't really think that they need to look past him just yet, because he offers great variety and therefore balance to their attack. So I think they should definitely stick with him.
Andrew, Right, Andrew, this has been a great tournament for a lot of young talents in India, and particularly the wicket-keeper batsman. Who is the one who's impressed you the most?
Who impressed me the most? I'd say probably Sanju Samson has been the one who impressed me the most. Watching him against CSK over the weekend, he took the game away from Chennai. He took 70-odd off 30-odd balls. It was great hitting and just really impacted the game so very much. But I just also want to say with the spinners, Washington Sundar, he bowled beautifully a couple of nights ago. It was a real joy to see.
Paul, prior to the season, Sanju Samson had managed just 4 half-centuries in 27 IPL innings. Now he has got 2 back-to-back 50s. Do you think that he can sustain the momentum? And to do so, what does he really have to do from here on?
I really hope he can, because he's a fantastic player to watch. In my opinion, the player of the tournament so far. He's just lit the tournament up. I think to maintain what he's done so far is going to be very difficult, because he's been so outstanding. And those 2 innings did come. You've got to sort of weigh it against the fact that they did come in Sharjah, where suited his sort of power play, and the way that he plays, he isn't going to be consistent every match. But we did a press conference with him yesterday, actually, and he spoke really well. And I found him to be a really interesting character. He's a deep thinker on the game. And he said that he'd had a meeting with Virat Kohli, or he'd spoke to Virat Kohli in a gym training session when he was with India, and Virat Kohli had sort of clarified his thoughts for him as to what he needs to do to make the most out of his career, which he thinks is going to be about 10 years he's got left in the game, and he really wants to devote himself to it. And I think we're already seeing the benefits of that. So good luck to him.
Well, Andrew, you know, one of the contests that probably we'll all be looking ahead to in this match is between Sanju Samson and Pat Cummins. Cummins did come good in the last match. He's 2 short of his 100 T20 wickets. Well, will Cricket Australia be a little worried about preserving him for the tests coming up later this year against India, considering that he's the top test bowler for your nation?
Yes, he is the top test bowler, but I think, yeah, they want him to be right, and they'll have to trust Pat and his conversations with Kolkata Knight Riders, because they'll also want him to be match fit. And of course, he hasn't played too much cricket over this year, and you know, we want him fit and firing for that test series later this year and match practice. As you said, he was much better in the second game this IPL, and you know, over the IPL, we hope to see him improve without doing an injury for himself. That's for sure.
Paul, Sunil Narine has an excellent record against the top 3 in the Royals batting order: Jos Buttler, Steve Smith and Sanju Samson. Would you say that Kolkata should be unleashing Narine on them up top, as in he should be allowed to bowl at the top today with the new ball?
I think that could happen if they're aware, and these teams are very aware of the matchups, the statistics in terms of matchups.
Right, Andrew, 2 talents
between each of the players.
Right. Please go on. Yes, Paul. Please go on.
Sorry, yeah, I was going to say that I can foresee that happening because the sides would be very aware of the matchups.
Andrew, 2 talents on display tonight: Sanju Samson and Shubman Gill. Pick one for me to be the star of the night.
I'm very tempted to say Sanju Samson because of what I've seen him do already, but maybe it's, as Paul said, he can't do it every week, so maybe it's Shubman Gill's time tonight.
You know, talking a little more about Sanju Samson, Paul, the way you saw him in this IPL, would you say it is Samson 2.0? And this is a batsman and a wicketkeeper we are seeing that we have never seen before?
Yeah, very possibly. Obviously, again, we've got to say that it's only a relatively small sample size of 2 matches, 2 very sort of incredible and very difficult to repeat sort of matches. But I do get that impression, especially by how he was speaking yesterday. He's very focused. He's got a clear idea. He's been working with the team analyst for a long time now, not just during the course of the tournament, but in the months leading up to it, exactly what he needs to do to progress and get to the next level. So, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Sanju Samson 2.0.
Paul, well, Dinesh Karthik, the KKR captain, has opted to bat at number 3 in the first 2 games. Since IPL 2019, he's been dismissed thrice by Googlies, the most for a batsman. Do you think that Royals would perhaps look at, attacking him with Shreyas Gopal, who has an excellent googly?
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make perfect sense. I don't know. I mean, I assume they'll stick with the batting order that they've got because...
Right. Andrew, to you, the impact of IPL on the Australian dressing room. Of course, we talk about breaking down barriers, but overall, what is the impact it has had on, someone like you who's away from Australia? Even at your level, would you say it has broken down barriers between Indian and Australians?
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely. It's one of our favourite phrases here is that cricket starts the conversation. And, it's not only just being about talking about test matches now. IPL, you can talk really locally. Here in Chennai, I can talk about Shane Watson and Josh Hazlewood. And it really creates those great conversations. But I think going back to the dressing rooms, yeah, they really do share perspectives. They have access to different coaches, different conditions. And I think that really helps them, as you said, in previous ICC tournaments, the winner has been the host with the 50-over World Cups. And coming up to next year with the T20 World Cup, obviously countries that aren't India are looking to win, and playing in the IPL, it's a great way to get used to the conditions, get used to the players, and really be able to attack that tournament with vigour.
Andrew, I'm really tempted to ask you this question. The World T20 was slated in Australia. Australia couldn't host it. It got cancelled, and IPL picked up that window to, stage this tournament. Were the Australians a bit miffed because, this big tournament had to be cancelled, and the BCCI bosses were really waiting for this cancellation to give a go-ahead to the IPL?
I think at the moment you have to just admit the realities of travel, and I really got to pay tribute to the BCCI for getting this up and running in the UAE. It's been terrific bringing together players from so many countries with the bio bubble, and yeah, we really hope it succeeds, and Australia will host a wonderful T20 World Cup in 2022, bringing the world together, and hopefully we'll see an Australian victory.
Paul, bringing back the conversation on today's match, the match between Kolkata and Rajasthan, several experts are saying Rajasthan start as the overwhelming favourites coming from that game, that high-octane finish. But would you say that because they have set standards, it'll be very difficult for them to emulate that, and perhaps, it'll help them if they're more grounded after the players are more grounded after that match?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, actually, because I think they'll still be riding a real wave of confidence from that game, the last one in particular. But I do think that it was such an incredible way that they won it. If they think that is, I mean, I'm sure they don't, actually. It's probably...
Andrew, we have such phenomenal performers, 19 of the Australian players in the IPL this time around, but no Indians in the Big Bash League. How does Australians react to that?
I think we're missing out, and we would love to have Indian players come to play in the Big Bash, obviously at their peak, but even retired players now like Yuvraj Singh, it'd be wonderful to see him turn out to say Melbourne Stars or the Sydney Sixers. The fans would love it, the broadcasters would love it. And as we said about Australians coming here, that they learn something new about the conditions, about different perspectives that they can bring back into their coaching, into their discussions with their colleagues. And I think it'd be really beneficial for the Indian players as for their technique as well. It'd be terrific.
Well, Paul, the third most dominant force in the league are the English players. We will see so many of them in action tonight. Would you say that Rajasthan is missing Ben Stokes, or are they not missing Ben Stokes at all?
Well, they haven't done just yet, and I'm pretty sure that they've probably planned on having a tournament without him.